I welcome again everyone, and today's facilitator is Major Nupur Sachdeva, who is parent coach, soft skill trainer, an image consultant, and former Indian Army nursing officer with 13 years of service. She conducts impactful workshops for teachers, students, parents, and professionals on communication, emotional intelligence, confidence, leadership, and professional presence. Known for her engaging storytelling style, she blends practical learning with real life experience. Major Nupur Sachdeva, I welcome you to teach. Grow. The
Thank
stage
you
is
so
yours.
much. Thank you so much, Mubashira. It is a pleasure to be here and an honor to be here with all the teachers, all the impactful people who bring about the change that we really want to see in our society by building up the next generation. So, are we all ready? Today we are going to talk about, I've already gotten a very good introduction. Thank you so much, Mubashira ji. And without wasting much time and without much ado, let's begin. So we're going to talk about competency-based assessment. Just give me a second to share my screen with you. Competency-based assessment, or how I like to call it, from changing our way of testing our students to be encyclopedia to a way of teaching them human skills. That is what competency-based assessment means to me. And I'm sure by the end of this session, that is what it will mean to you all too. At Teach Grow, we are actually obsessed with bridging that gap between the policy and the classroom learnings that happen. So this becomes a very important part of teaching. I would like to start this by thanking you all. And since I have also been groomed by a teacher, I would like to thank all the teachers in my life and all the teachers present here and start with gratitude.
It was a hot day in July, the summer after Sandy's first year of teaching. Sandy was sitting on the backyard swing with a diary in her hand. When she got her first job as a teacher, her mother had given her the diary to record all those triumphant teacher moments. Sandy had gone to college not really knowing what she wanted to be or do with her life. Growing up, she had wanted to be a writer, a psychologist, a lawyer. But when Sandy's friends who wanted to be teachers talked about what they wanted to do, their faces seemed to light up as they talked about making the world a better place. However, the first year of teaching was not as enchanting as she had thought it would be. The first entries in her journal were usually brief. Sandy was too tired to write much at the end of the day. September 7, teaching is harder than I thought it would be. October 1.
Has it stopped? Oh, sorry.
As a teacher, her mother, she had wanted to be a writer, a psychologist, a lawyer. But when Sandy's friends who wanted to be teachers talked about what they wanted to do, their faces seemed to light up as they talked about making the world a better place. However, the first year of teaching was not as enchanting as she had thought it would be. The first entries in her journal were usually brief. Sandy was too tired to write much at the end of the day. September 7, teaching is harder than I thought it would be. October 1, I got my first teaching check today. Was it worth it? October 10, I can't change these kids' home lives. How can I expect them to do homework when there's often no support? November 8, I'm not sure I'm cut out to be a teacher. As she leafed through the pages on this lazy summer day, Sandy could see the faces of her 30 third graders. Paul sat right by her desk. Even that didn't stop his constant talking. but she had sent a note home every day to let his parents know Sandy had worked hard at being consistent. Connie, cute as a button, never did one piece of homework, and Sandy had worked so hard to get her parents to help, but they wouldn't even return her phone calls. Sitting quietly, almost invisibly in the back of a room was Jane, wearing the same dress she had worn all week. Did she ever smile? Michael sat to the left of her desk, a sweet little boy. But when he read aloud, Sandy got impatient. He called so many words wrong. Sandy sat back and remembered how many times she had climbed frustrated into her car at the end of the school day, nearly crying tears of frustration. She tried so hard to be a good teacher, but it didn't seem as though she was making a difference of any kind, let alone a difference that would make the world a better place. But halfway through the diary, Sandy noticed that her entries had become longer. They focused less on her frustration and more on the kids themselves. Sandy began reading. January 10. Paul controlled his talking so well today that I sent a note to his parents telling them about his good behavior. February 12. I found out today that Connie's parents are getting a divorce. I'm not going to keep calling. Instead, I think I have a plan, a way to help Connie with at least some of her homework before she leaves school. March 8. Jane came up to me on the playground and whispered in my ear that her daddy had a new job. She was smiling. March 25. When Michael was in reading group, I noticed that he was always able to answer my questions. It's when I call on him to read aloud that he stutters, and his hands even shake. What can I do to help him? As Sandy turned to the last page of her diary, a piece of paper fell onto her lap. It was a note from one of her students that she had tucked inside sometime earlier that year. She unfolded it to read, "Thank you, teacher. You made my day happy." Sandy smiled as she realized teaching was not only about making the world a better place, it was about making their world better day by day. Thank you, teacher, for making your students' days happy.
Thank you so much for being patient audience and for being the teachers that you all are. So now we come to the crux of the matter. WIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for you all, teachers? I have identified certain objectives for you all as you do for your students, and here they are listed. But again, to summarize them into one objective, it is that we want to move from our students from what do you know to what can you do with what you know. As simple as that. No big words, no scary terms, just what can you do with what you know. We don't want our students to store data, we have Google for it. We want our students to process it, to apply it, to use it. So these are the objectives that we are going to go through to help them do that. No? What do you all see? Please write in the chat box in maybe 2-3 words that what do you all make of this picture? What comes to your mind? The first 2-3 words that come to your mind when you see this picture. Please take to the chat box. Yes? Difficult? Good. Very true. Yes. 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 Right. Absolutely. But honestly, take it well or not, this is the traditional testing that we stick to. We ask the fish to climb a tree, and we ask the monkey to swim. But thankfully, NEP 2020 has actually given us something that we can do to change this kind of assessment, to move from traditional to competency based, from memorization, recall, repetition, fixed answers, to moving to analysis, application, problem solving. I know there are very big words in NEP, like these, the experiential learning, like skill-based education, conceptual understanding. They seem very heavy. They seem very intimidating. But the crux of the matter is that the testing, they just want the testing to change from just for the sake of report card to assessing for the sake of the skill of the child or the life skills that will help him in the future. So for this, we as teachers need a battle plan. And that battle plan is given to us as CBA, or the competency-based assessment. This derives from competency-based learning.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, ये है हमारी युद्ध नीति. ये है हमारा battle plan. We move from deriving the learning outcomes and then deriving what kind of competencies that we want to see in the child, the competencies or the domains of life skills. Then comes the difficult part of designing the task for it, gathering evidence from the child, setting up criteria for those assessments, and finally putting them into the rubrics. Now, ये words को अगर मैं simplify करूं, तो let's take baking of a cake as an example. हमारा learning outcome है कि हमको cake बनाना है. That cake we should be able to make. We decided. Now for that, the competencies are the ingredients that we need to put in it. The flour, the chini, the milk, the chocolate, or whatever. Those are the competencies that we need to put in that. And then when we come to task, the task is the process of it. Do we apply that process in baking it? How do we do that? The entire task is mixing, putting it in the oven, giving it that time. No? And once the task is done, we move on to the evidence. The evidence is the made cake. Now that the made cake is the evidence of the fact that there were certain competencies which were put to task and it has come out as the cake. Criterias, we come to criterias. Here we have to analyze the analysis of that cake. What can be the criteria that cake can be analyzed? It can be the taste. It can be the texture. So these become criteria for assessing how the cake was made. And then with these criteria, we go to rubrics. The rubrics are when we say a criteria of taste. Does it taste okay? Does it taste good? Or does it taste exceptional? That is how you put those criteria in rubrics. Now that I hope you are getting me and we have a fair idea how these things work. We will go into these one by one so that we have a grasp on it, we have a hold on it, and we can design these competencies for our students. So let's first move to the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes are nothing but what the student should be able to do. Like for us, bake a cake. Let's take an example. Let's take an example from civics. Let's take an example of democracy. In classroom teaching, we teach what are the principles of democracy, what is democracy. Now, what is the student going to do about it? What is the use of teaching democracy? वो 18 साल का होगा, वोट देगा, that's it. But how does it work? What is the use for in his life? So for this, if we make the outcome that the child should be able to use this concept of democracy in his real life, that would be a learning outcome. Now, in real life, how you can apply this? There can be so many scenarios that can be created. Let's create a scenario of a school that a head boy and a head girl are to be selected or elected. Here you can give a very simple task to your students, to your class, to decide that how should democracy be applied? Should it be democratic? Should it be autocratic? If democracy is applied, how can it be applied in school elections? Or if we take an example of maths, we teach all our students multiplication. How can we apply multiplication in our life? Let's say we give a child a room, 10 into 12 करने की जगह 10 feet by 12 feet का room देते हैं. Let's give him tiles. Let's tell him कि हमें इस रूम को टाइल करना है, टाइल का ये कॉस्ट है, ये साइज है, 3 तरह की टाइल्स हैं, बताओ कौन सी लगाएं. This is making a learning outcome related to a real life scenario or application based. Here, assessing competencies becomes easier. Once we have identified that what kind of learning outcome we want, based on that, we can select a few competencies that we want to go ahead with. So, sequel. धुरंधर सबने देखी होगी, धुरंधर 1, धुरंधर 2. हमारी ये स्लाइड सीक्वल की तरह आएगी, जो इट्स बेस्ट फॉर रिकॉल, इसलिए हम इसको बार बार लाएंगे, हर बार एक नए फॉर्म में. So CBA 2 says, now we come to competencies. What are competencies? What is this word? हर कोई बोल रहा है competency based करो, competency based करो, competency based करो. What is this word competency? Let's make it easier for you. Competency, as described in NEP 2020, and those that are being adopted by CBSE in a big way, are categorized like this. These are the 7 umbrella competencies under which there can be many more competencies included. In thinking competency, you can have critical thinking, you can have problem solving, you can have a lot of things under this. Then application based can have multiplication, or these have basically mathematical problems, logical reasonings. These all come under application. Then have communication, collaborating, creativity and innovation, inquiry and investigation, personal and life skills. These are the basic ones that have been listed in NEP. In addition to this, CBSE also follows social skills, but that is not very much given in NEP, but CBSE does follow. So you can also include the social skills in this list of competencies. At the end of this session, you'll be getting a handbook wherein these competencies, under this umbrella word thinking, what all competencies are included, will be giving you a handbook for that. So you can refer to it whenever you want to. So now, how to use these. Now, once we have made a learning outcome, like learning outcome हमने बनाया कि हमको डेमोक्रेसी को रियल लाइफ में, इनके रियल केस सिनेरियो में लाना है. उसमें हम कॉम्पिटेंसी कौन सी मतलब असेस कर सकते हैं, इसमें क्या असेसमेंट की जा सकती है? इसमें असेसमेंट हो सकती है मे बी क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, then application of the concept to school elections. Then there can be decision making. What else? There can be say communication, because the child will have to communicate and tell why he decided democracy and what rules should he follow. So all these things can very well and easily come under this, can be decided by the topic that you take. For example, in maths, जो हम we were tiling a room. What competencies? I request all the teachers to please take to the chat box and tell me what kind of competencies you can apply or you can assess in a mathematical problem of tiling a room, deciding what tiles to be used in a room. I would request you all to take to the chat box and let me know what kind of competencies can be used here. Okay. Yes. Inquiry and investigation, true. Application, critical thinking, reasoning. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. So all these things can be, now I'm sure you're getting a hang of it. All these things can be very easily, these competencies can be assessed in these activities. Now, from this, from competency, हम वापस धुरंधर सीक्वल 3 पे चलें. क्या आया? Yes, the task. This is where we generally get stuck. Task कैसे design करें? How do we design this task for assessing this competency? It's not very difficult. Once you have decided, once you know that you want it a real life application or you want a case study, you can design tasks accordingly. I will give you the example of the same, जो हमारा the way we are doing it for civics. To create a task for application of the concept of democracy, what can be done? We can ask the students to compare the leadership models, the leadership selection models. Should it be democratic or autocratic? We can ask the students to justify why they think the pros and cons. Here comes the pros and cons of both democratic and autocratic. If they choose something, we can always ask them to propose how fair elections will be conducted. Also, they have to analyze what consequences of the, if there are elections are not fair, what are the consequences? I will give you a 4-step rule for it. Okay, let's go to the 4-step rule for it. This is the 4-step rule. The task should have these 4 things. It should be able to apply learning. It should be able to investigate. It should be able to analyze, and it should be able to propose the solutions. Okay, so how apply learning? If we take a maths example, how do we apply learning? We apply learning, we have learned multiplication, we calculate the room area, we calculate the tile area. This is how you can apply the learning. Then investigate. Now the child has to investigate which tile is better, which tile, how many tiles are required, what will be the cost of each kind of tile that is to be put. So this is investigating. Now comes the analysis. Now the student will analyze that if I have these 4 types of tiles or 2 types of tiles or 3 types of tiles, which is better and why? What goes better? It will analyze and then propose solutions based on the analysis that the student has done. So if the student is able to do these 4 things, the task is absolutely appropriate. This can be applied to all subjects, starting from English to mathematics to to all the social studies and everything. Now, here I would like to add one thing. There are two kinds of tasks. One is a weak task and one is a competency-based task. The weak task would be what is water conservation? How do you conserve water? But competency-based task would say conduct a home survey of wastage of water. These are two comparative tasks, a weaker and a stronger task. You can always build upon a strong task, but according to the age and the standard or the class of the student. Okay, next, evidence. We've made a task, we've given the task. Now the student will produce this evidence. How? What is this evidence? Evidence can be anything. Anything starting from a poster to a presentation to a portfolio to a demonstration to a written paper. Anything that can be assessed. Not necessarily just an exam paper, but anything, even an oral presentation is evidence of the task. So this evidence that the child is producing here is nothing but how the student shows learning. This is how the student will show that, yes, I have learned the principle, I have performed the task based on it. This can be like for anything and everything, starting from written response, classroom discussions, debates, comparison tables. Any form can be an evidence that you can always associate with the kind of competency you are assessing. The criteria. Criteria actually comes directly from the competency. It is nothing very fancy, nothing very very dramatic about it. No. Also in the handbook that you'll be getting a criteria bank for each competency. You may use it. You may make your own criteria. I will give you an example right here. Like for thinking competency. What all can be there? The thinking can be critical thinking or analysis or reasoning. You can make a criteria on which you want to assess the child. See, if we want to assess the child on maybe conceptual understanding, the criteria becomes that explains the concept accurately using examples. So if in democracy, the child is able to explain that why, how it will work in a school scenario, that means the child has a conceptual understanding. So this becomes one of the criteria for assessment. If you say interpretation, so in maths, draws meaning from data. If the child is able to interpret how many tiles are required, how will he put, that means this competency is being assessed and a criteria can be used. That is the child able to draw meaning from the data? Is the child able to make out which is better, which is not? Okay. So this is how you can create the criteria based on your task by the competencies that you have to assess. Okay. Let's move further from competency to rubrics. I know this word sounds very, very dramatic and difficult, but it's nothing. It's just a scoring guide. Rubrics are nothing but a scoring guide to assess the performance of the child. It is actually the observable descriptors that are given, and it is a very simple scoring guide. We will go through one rubrics in detail. We have already homed on to a criteria. What criteria we want to go ahead with. Now, for this criteria, we can create rubrics for a beginner, for someone who's proficient and at an advanced level. It's as simple as saying that if for baking of the cake, our criteria was, say, texture. So the beginner, the texture was okay. It was more like a Karachi halwa than a cake. So it's a beginner level. The student is at a beginner level. Now, if that was not a Karachi halwa, but a cake, a decent cake, fine, a good tasting cake, the child would be considered at a proficient level. But if the child has used, maybe say, walnuts in it, and the child has used a lot of dry fruits and everything and given it a very good flavor, the child would be considered at an advanced stage. I hope I'm making sense. So the criteria is the one that you decide, and based on that, the kind of performance that that the student gives, we can classify it as a beginner, as proficient, or at the advanced stage. Let's see a few examples of the competencies. Okay. So if we see application, if the student, whatever task you've given shows limited connection or limited application, you would classify
major retired
in,
major class major.
You would classify them as a beginner. Okay. If that child shows that the application of the concept is done in what the task that child has performed, then you would classify in rubrics as proficient. But when the child not only applies, but there is excellent integration of the concept in real life scenario, then you will classify him or her as in the advanced rubrics. Same way, if we see the rubrics for communication, communication is a criteria. This communication can be oral, written, maybe a skill of persuasion, negotiation, whatever you want to put in this. You can put any kind of criteria you want according to the task that you've designed. And then accordingly, if the explanation is not very clear, the student is trying, but unclear, it is in a beginner level. The explanation is clear, the student has understood and can apply clear explanation, it is at a proficient level. But if the student is very well able to communicate, to persuade, to express himself beautifully, the student will be classified in the advanced rubrics. Same way, creativity. Suppose you've asked for a poster design, or you've asked for maybe a campaign design. So how would you go about it? If it is at a beginner level, the poster is okay. The ideas are just not very original, maybe minimal originality, you would classify as beginner. If the student shows some originality, has certain ideas, it would be, but not very out of the box kind of thing, it would be classified as proficient. But if the child shows exceptional high innovation, high out of the box thinking, the child would be classified into advanced rubrics. This is one part which generally scares us, how to make these rubrics, how to perform in these. But to be very honest, it is very easy, very, very easy if you have got the right criteria for the tasks. Once you have prepared your criteria as well, making rubrics becomes very easy. Same way, in the handout, you will also be getting a sample rubrics for few of the competencies. This can be made by the teacher on the basis of the assigned task very, very easily. It's not very difficult to do. For example, if you do a maths, if you go towards maths, Correct calculation can be one criteria on which you can put rubrics. Unit conversion can be a criteria on which you can put rubrics. Ability to compare, evaluate can be a criteria on which you can make rubrics. Practical application or practical implications also can be one criteria on which you can make rubrics. So it is a matter of creating the correct criteria and the rubrics become very, very easy. Also here, I want to add something, and that is we generally use in this word, in this also, I have used here good application. Good actually is not a good verb to use. When we are making rubrics, rather than using understands concept, understanding is not same to everyone. You may understand something else. Somebody else may understand another thing of the same thing that is being told. It is not same for everybody. The understanding is not same for everyone. So understands or excellent is a very, very subjective criteria. So rather than using these verbs, it is always, always advisable to use verbs like explains, because if the child is able to explain, that means the understanding is there. Explains, or say uses evidence, or shows evidence, or applies concept, or identifies or distinguishes. When the verb is specific, your criterias will be specific, the rubrics will be specific. And it will not be, what would I say, a very subjective thing that, it is different for one teacher and different for another. If the child is able to identify something, he's able to identify for all teachers, for anyone who's assessing, he's able to identify. If we say understand, it becomes very subjective and it may be interpreted differently by different people. So using the correct verb is very important. We as teachers all have read the dreaded Bloom's taxonomy. We can very well make use of the verbs in Bloom's taxonomy. They are beautiful and they can form a very good part of the rubrics formation. So let's revise the complete framework with one small short example. Okay, for here, if my competency is problem solving, what suitable tasks I can use? I can use maybe a real life scenario. I can use a case study. What evidence I can give? The evidences I can give, I can ask for the student to propose solutions or to choose solutions. And my criterias can be either logic or practicality, whatever suits better. This is how a framework works. I hope you have understood this, because now I have a task for you. Are you all ready? Please show a thumbs up if you all are ready. We're going to do something very quickly here. Oh, do I see thumbs up? Please use your... Can I see a few thumbs up here? Can I see a few reactions here? Yes. So teachers, let's make one right here. If we don't practice what we learn immediately, we all know we are teachers here, we won't remember, right? So we're going to do it right now, right here. It is going to take maximum 10 minutes and we'll do it. I will give you a real life situation. Say we see a lot of plastic waste in school and in canteen and everywhere. Okay, so this becomes a real life situation and we have to teach the concept of effects of plastic pollution, the plastic waste. if you have to see that, I want you all to please take to the chat box and give me maybe a learning outcome for this. What can be a learning outcome? What do we want the child to be able to do? You can write after this, you will be writing, student will be able to what? I want that in the chat box. Student will be able to के बाद. Very true. Absolutely. Awareness about. Yes. Awareness. True. Reduce use of plastic. Absolutely. Yes. Refuse. Discipline. Yes. Reuse. Disasters. Understand, aware of pollution caused by plastic. Yes. Great. Great. You are all are on very good lines. Yes. Apply and start at home. Absolutely beautiful. Health and hygiene. Okay. So we make our learning outcome like student will be able to propose practical solutions or sustainable solutions for plastic pollution. That we make as our learning objective, learning outcome that we want from the child. Now, in this, if we want our child to analyze what environmental problem is, and then give us, propose certain practical or sustainable solutions for it, what can be the competencies that we can assess here? Please take to the chat box and give me what can be the competencies that can be assessed here. What are we looking at? What do we want the child, what kind of competencies we want from him? Do we want thinking? Do we want application? Do we want problem solving? Do we want creativity? Do we want communication? What are we looking for? Yes, critical thinking, creative thinking, very good, absolutely. Problem solving, understanding, innovative thinking, lovely. Yes. Communication too, absolutely. Communication too we need. Of course, the child needs to persuade the entire school. Yes. Collaboration, lovely, lovely. Life skill, yes. Social responsibility, very important. So these are the competencies that we have identified. Lovely, great teachers. Here, I would like to add one thing. That is, whenever you're designing a task, it is always advisable to go with 3 to 5 competencies at one go. Not more, not less. Up to 3 to 5. So that is a very good ratio of assessing for a CBA. Lovely. Teamwork. Amazing. So once we have designed the competencies, we know we have selected the domains. Now we have to create a task. Take a second, think, and then write in the chat box, what kind of task can we create in this scenario? Come on, teachers, think. We will create CBA right here. Yes. What kind of task can be created? Poster and banner making, absolutely. This is such a good task to assess creativity, to problem solving, to communication, such a good task. Best out of waste task, great. Yes. Reusable bags, old cloth from community, role play, lovely. Pamphlet distribution, good. Yes. Good. So there can be a lot of things that can be done. Awareness drive, beautiful, great. We can always have the child observe for where the key problem lies, identify the core areas, no, and then design solutions according to the core areas. Amazing. Every act has to be resulted. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. Collecting plastics for recycle or to give it to communities who reuse. Lovely. This is a very good task. Amazing. You all are thinking very nicely. So all these tasks, like creating awareness, then presenting their recommendations, these all are the tasks that can be designed. And then, according to this, we will ask for evidences. Evidences like what all will be the evidences that will be assessed, what the child will have to present. Come on, teachers, let's take to the chat box and think about the evidences that can be asked of, that the child has to give or the child has to do. What is the prepared cake that we are going to receive here? What is the cake that we're going to assess here? What is the evidence? Is it a poster? Is it a campaign? Is it a paper? Is it a survey? What all can be? Photos, Google reviews, surveys, feedback, poster. Amazing, amazing, great. Yes, e-learning, lovely. Surveys are a very good thing. Having an action plan is a very good thing. Asking for an action plan is absolutely the correct evidence. Waste craft model, lovely. Yes, all these can be asked as evidence.
Technical glitch.
This campaign. What can be? Can you hear me?
Miss Nupur, we lost you for a couple of seconds. Will you please repeat for us?
Yes, sure. So once we have the evidence, now we have to assess this. So we need criterias, right? So teachers, take to the chat box and let me know what all criterias can we develop for the competencies that we just noted for this activity. What all can be the competencies? What the criterias? The criteria for maybe say critical thinking. What will be the criteria for critical thinking here? Understanding of concept, absolutely, absolutely. For application, there can be application, good impact. This is a very good criteria for application, understanding the impact of plastic, environmental responsibility. Yes. Yes. Can we make a criteria for communication here? Can we make one criteria for communication here? Because obviously the child has designed a poster, is going to go in the community, designed a campaign. Yes. So for communication, clarity can be one criteria. Logic, persuasiveness, the elocution, beautiful. These can be criteria for communication. This is how we create criteria based on the task and the competency that we want to assess. Way of delivery, absolutely. Explains project clearly and confidently. Yes, exactly. So this is the way how we can make criteria. And let's now make some curiosity. Lovely. Presentation skills, awareness, accuracy. Yes. Accuracy is also one very important criteria, and it can be used in multiple competencies. Yes. So now we move to rubrics. Let's make rubrics. Should we? All set? Thumbs up for rubrics? Yes? We'll make rubrics for communication. Let's make rubrics for communication. So I want rubrics, that is, you have to give me 3 words. 3, 1 for beginner, 1 for proficient, and 1 for advanced in a rubrics for communication. Give me 3 words. Give me 3 words, 1 for beginner, 1 for proficient, 1 for advanced for communication here. The child is communicating. The child has, we have selected criteria, say clarity. So for clarity, give me rubrics. Clear, unclear? Yes. Effectivity. Yes, I want 3 words. I want minimal clarity, clear, expresses beautifully. This is the way that clarity will be put in a rubrics. Yes. So take any criteria, take clarity, take logic, anything that expression. Yes, you can take expression. And 3 words, 1 for beginner, 1 for proficient, and 1 for advanced. Clear, effective, wonderful, beautiful. Great. Yes. Need support, clear communication, confident speaker. Absolutely. This is the way how we make the rubrics. Absolutely. Yes. Clear, effective, confident. Very nice. These are the words, these words are perfect for the rubrics. So for any criteria, say for creativity, you can say if it's a common idea, or it's a original idea, or it's absolutely a highly engaging, beautiful, out of the box thinking done. So this is how you create rubrics for one criteria. Okay. I hope you have been able to do this exercise. Are we? Are we on the same page? Yes? Okay. Okay. So now, yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So now that we have understood what all this CBA entails, the house is open for questions. If anybody would like to ask, please go ahead. At the end of the session, we will be sharing a book with you, a handbook handout with you. And we will be in this handout, you'll get a crux of how to create this CBA. Whatever has been taught here is given in a crux there. Plus certain do's and don'ts, certain things that you must keep in mind when you are making the CBA. That will help you. There is a criteria bank attached to it, and there is a sample rubrics for certain criterias attached to it. And I'm sure it will be helpful for all the teachers to create this. I know a lot of schools are pushing for CBA in a big way, and they're trying to bring it. And trust me, it is not a very difficult job to do. Once you get the hang of it, it is not. Let's start by doing one chapter at a time, one question from one chapter at a time, and it becomes easy. And I'm sure you all, once you have understood it and once you've started applying it, you'll be able to do it very beautifully, and your students will thank you for it. Not only today, but also when they grow up and realize what you have been in their lives. So if there are any questions, please go ahead.
Before we take questions, I'd just like to tell you that I have shared the link to join Carnival of Hope community. You can click on it to receive further updates. Thank you. Yes, Hanuman sir, you can go ahead with your question.
I don't have question, but I would rather say that when I have received this competency-based program through Diksha portal, from that onwards till now, whatever I have learned, that had been doubly sure now. It's and the pace which ma'am had kept, not fast, not slower, exactly what the teachers needed to understand in a better way. And each point had been explained. And the most important, which I liked about the session, is that had been practiced. So we did our homework, ma'am. I put everything in chat box. So this is something that for every certification, certifications will be there many, but if we are not putting that into practice, that will be not valid. So it has to be valid and valued with the practice, and that had been done today. I am very thankful to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words.
We have shared the link to the certificate. Please click on the link and fill the form. Write the exact name that you want on the certificate. Fill your email ID carefully. Thank you. Any more questions? We are open to take. And in a short while, in a minute actually, we'll be sharing the handout as well. I think there is a technical glitch and we have lost connectivity.
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Back. Ms. Nupur, we lost you again for a couple of seconds. You
I
have
think
instruction, please repeat for us one more time.
all good things to those who wait. So yes, if there's anything, you all you teachers are most welcome to connect with me anytime. I've given my details, my connection details also. And thank you so much for being such a lovely audience. Thank you so much for participating well. That is a very encouraging thing for a trainer, that when you are learner teachers right now, so the learner teachers participate. It's very, very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Handout has been shared. It's in the chat box. You can click on it and download and save it on your system. Do we have more questions? Mubashira, we can close. Over to you.
Thank you, Nupurji. Very, very informative and very practically you explained everything, and we also learned a lot from this session. And I thank all the participants who are participated very well, very active in the chat, and all the links are shared. Please join Carnival of Hope group for more updates on Teach, Grow and other informative programs which we always bring for everyone. Thank you. See you in the next our learning session. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Take care. Bye.
Thank you everyone for joining in. Please fill in the certificate. Please fill in the Google form. You will receive your certificates in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much. On this note, we are signing out, and we'll see you again on in next week, Wednesday. And in the meantime, stay updated in the Carnival of Hope community and do join us for all the other events. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
And you can get recordings on Deep Parenting app.
Yes, the recordings will be uploaded on the Deep Parenting app. DEEP, Deep Parenting app. You can download this app from the Google Store.